Xijin, editor of the CCP mouthpiece The Global Times, called Mao's Yu, also known as Yu Maochun, a Hanjian, a Chinese label denoting a traitor to the people. Just as the CCP called Pompeo a common enemy of mankind, Yu's contribution to the U.S.-China policy has earned him similar treatment from the CCP. Previously, Mao's Yu was credited by Bill Gertz at the Washington Times as, quote, one of Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's most influential advisors on U.S.-Sino relations, who helped drive the main points in Pompeo's recent speech on China that highlighted key concepts such as the CCP is not the same as China. So looking past its name-calling, the CCP actually revealed how effective Yu was at identifying the CCP's vulnerability and damaging the party's reputation. After all, the CCP does not target someone without good reason. The idea that the CCP is not the same as China was originally mentioned by the 9 commentaries. Therefore, it's fulfilling to see Dr. Yu spreading the message and gaining it traction. Mao's Yu was born in Anhui Province on August 8, 1962. After receiving his master's degree at Swarthmore College and his PhD in history from Berkeley, he became a professor teaching modern Chinese and military history at the U.S. Naval Academy. In recent years, he has become the principal China policy and planning advisor to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Interestingly, Yu was quite young when the Cultural Revolution happened in China. However, he remembers the violence, ridiculousness, the irreversible damage on the core traditions of China, and the hatred towards all things Western and capitalist. But it was when he heard the speech of then US President Ronald Reagan in 1980 on Voice of America that Yu realized an authoritarian system like China's is driven by ideology. Therefore, such systems around the world would inevitably fail. Since then, Yu has given Ronald Reagan credit for inspiring him to go to America. According to the Washington Times, General David Stilwell, Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia and Pacific Affairs, praised Mao's Yu as, quote, a national treasure, stressing that Yu, quote, understands the difference between democratic and authoritarian governance and can explain it better than anyone I know. He continued, he is a clear-eyed student of the Cold War and of the US-China-USSR dynamic. He understands the importance of culture and ideology and strategy making. And it's not just one. Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger also calls Yu, quote, an invaluable resource for the Trump administration's foreign policy team, and that his experience growing up under the totalitarianism has made him one of China's most potent foes. In recent years, Yu has formed a team with Stilwell to craft and implement President Trump's America First policy toward China. Josh Rogan, a columnist for The Washington Post, revealed last year in June of Pompeo's assigned task to Kieran Skinner, his policy planning chief, and Mao's Yu to create a comprehensive China strategy that could not only gain bipartisan support, but also outlive the current administration. Yu went on to call his policy recommendation principled realism, and according to his analysis, the US has done 3 major mistakes in its China policy. 1. Washington's excessive confidence in its influence on the CCP, as it relied on the, quote, China card to suppress the USSR, but the CCP ended up playing its, quote, US card far better. 2. The US government failing to distinguish between the CCP and Chinese people. And 3. Washington's political leaders never truly realizing that the key to defeating the CCP lies in its people, the Chinese people. Dr. Yu has stated that the US has often succumbed to the CCP's conviction, forgetting that the US has a tremendous reputation, advantage, and influence that far surpasses the authoritarian regime in China.